here we are. Here we are, my friend.
Here we are again.
Winston. How's life? You in Atlanta?
Life is good. I'm still in Atlanta. Where are you?
I'm in Sofia, Bulgaria. And for those of you joining us, tuning in live on a Friday afternoon, thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us. This one is going to be a different format, guys. Usually I have a guest. Winston has been a guest on the podcast twice. We've had more than 220 guests on the podcast. Today we're going to do something different based on the demand, based on the requests. Many people asking me, questions about networking, about making meaningful connections. Some of you might know, but it's something that's very, very natural for me. It's been natural for me all my life, I guess. I don't know if you know Winston, but I get expelled from the kindergarten. Actually, a couple of them. My mom is a kindergarten teacher,
Wow.
and she knows all the other kindergarten teachers. So she tried to sign me up for some other kindergarten, so I'm not in her kindergarten, obviously. And apparently, after a few days, the teachers would come to her and they'll say, "We cannot keep him. He keeps talking to the kids in the afternoon, so they cannot sleep." So I've been a social guy, a networking guy from early
Oh,
on,
for
let's say,
many years, yeah.
for many years. And today, I would say my network is consisting of tens of thousands of connections all around the world, people from all walks of life,
Yes.
good people, not so good people, people from high status, celebrities even. We are very active networkers, and I'm actually really happy to be here with you, Winston. Maybe you could give us a couple of minutes about your connection to networking. I know you are extremely good at it, but just a couple of words from you before we start this Q&A.
Yeah, I'm not as good as you. I did not get expelled from my nursery school for networking, but I think it's something that I've had to develop. It's not really natural to me. I would actually say that I'm more of an introvert naturally, but networking has become something that I found useful as a way to build relationships, make friends, even how we connected. It was during COVID and, you know, we didn't really have much to do during COVID, so we just decided to record a podcast and built a friendship in that way. So I think sometimes there's a negative connotation about network, but sometimes it can be just about making friends.
No, for sure, man. And there's so many areas we can cover, but we announced this to be a Q&A session. So everybody who's tuning in, first of all, say hello, let us know where are you joining us from, but then post your question in the comments. We have a bunch of questions already
Yes.
lined up that were collected in the past. I did a couple of posts, so there's many questions there, but we'll prioritize the questions that are coming live, of course, and then we'll try to
Yeah.
cover as many as we can. So that's the rules, guys. And let's get on going. I see. Let's maybe start with this question. I see it under the. I'm watching here.
Oh,
So we
nice.
have a question from Ani Stomatova. Ani actually is one of the people who joined my 4-day networking experience in the mountains. So let's
Mm.
see. Let's see if we can cover more questions for her.
Mhm.
So the question she's asking is, how do you define meaningful when it comes to connections and recognize it as such? And how do you keep all your connections alive?
Mm.
You want to start first?
Yeah, I can start on this one because it kind of speaks to what I was beginning to touch on in my introduction. And I think for a long time I had a hesitation around networking because it just felt a little bit transactional. So I'm going to make friends with you so that maybe one day you can put me on your podcast or we can do some kind of business thing together. And for me, that was a little bit icky. Um, because I want the networking to feel, to the listener's point, I want it to feel meaningful and I want it to feel valuable for both of us. So if we're talking about meaningful connections, I think the biggest thing that I would say is leading with value, you know, as someone who's making a connection. So, stepping away from, and maybe it's a reframe, maybe stepping away from I'm gonna go to this networking event or I'm gonna have a coffee with this person so that they can help me somehow, and instead flipping it around to, how can I be really valuable to this person, and then building off of that foundation and seeing where that takes you. I feel like that's one of the keys, and I know you speak a lot about being the most valuable person in the room, so that's I know that's important to you as well.
And I think the tension, the pressure drops when you switch the mindset. You explain
Yeah.
it really well.
Mm,
Many people have been struggling and are struggling with networking. One of the reasons is they feel like I don't have anything to offer.
right.
And we did a couple of boot camps in the mountains, 4 day long boot camps with people that I consider very social, very good communicators. And
Yeah.
when we had these deeper conversations, they would share that I don't feel comfortable networking. And many of them would share, I don't think I have anything to offer when I have to talk to strangers and I have to introduce myself. And then we discussed exactly this, that when you approach networking with the mindset of giving, initially, you're there to provide value.
Yeah.
You're there to, and value could mean many different things, by the way.
Yes.
But value it at an event. Let's look at an event. You are at a business event, a networking event, at a conference. What does value mean?
Mm,
Well, that means you might be a pleasant person. You might be kind and polite. You might open with a smile. You might be curious,
yes.
ask questions. You might be a good listener.
Yep.
You listen attentively. You're trying to be helpful. You ask questions that are kind of open questions,
Mm,
and then you follow up with something that, so you talk about the topics that they care about.
yes.
You offer help. If you see the person on the other side is a good, decent person, then you try to get to know them. You might crack a joke, being fun,
Yeah.
like bringing in good vibes. People underestimate how much that could bring to conversation. But she's asked, how do you define meaningful? It comes from meaning. And I agree with you. For me, meaningful connection is a connection that both sides are looking into creating something more like long term, not transactional, but they both are approaching the conversation with curiosity. And this one is actually, I want you to comment on that. For the most part, if you go to a networking event, you want to maximize your time to a certain extent.
Mm.
You probably have 2 hours. So you
Mm,
have to, just like in sales, you might want to qualify it if the connection on the other side is a good connection for you.
right.
If there is a good, maybe similarity, you have similar shared interests. So you might want that. In certain cases, though, I feel like there are some people that are so different when it comes to their professional field of expertise or industry, but you kind of vibe. There's a good vibe. So I would say that could potentially also turn into a meaningful connection. But maybe to include something else to the conversation as well, I would say very important thing many people forget and miss often when they go to a networking event is to have a clearly defined objective.
Yes.
Why are you there? What do you want to get out of it? And there's a book by Adam Grant. I don't know if you read the book, Give and Take.
Mm,
It's a very interesting book.
mm-hmm.
He's proving and he's showing some studies that proves that givers are the people that are usually the most successful people in the long run.
Yes.
However, so he's talking about givers, he's talking about takers. And I think he was talking about, I forgot the word he uses, but mediators, the people who are looking for the equal transaction. And he claims the givers are on the top, but the givers are also on the bottom. The givers at the bottom
Mm,
are the givers that do not have boundaries.
yes.
And takers smell the givers, and they squeeze them. It's like immediately there. Yeah, exactly. So give and take. You want to be more of a giver in an interaction, But in the long run, you need to have an objective. Why are you there? Maybe you have a startup, you want to raise funding. Okay, cool. Maybe your objective is to go and to befriend as many relevant, meaningful connections for your case, which
Mm,
could be investors, VC, people who are connected to investors and VC, people who can give you advice how to approach funding. Like there could be many different people. So
yeah,
you have to be clear, who do I want to meet? Who do I want to spend most of my time? If I have 2 hours, I don't have so much time to talk, but maybe I can be more specific and say, well, I want to spend 5 to 20 minutes per conversation, depending on the conversation, how deep do you go, or maybe you just want to spend time with a couple of people this night that you kind of find a match with.
yeah.
So, but have a clear objective, clear networking objective, and then you build things backwards. What do you think, Winston?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'll add one more thing, and then I know we have a lot of questions to get through.
That's right.
But I think that there's a few things. I think one is the way that we define meaningful is probably very individual. So each of us has, to your point, an objective for going to a meeting or to an event. And so
Mm.
my meaningful is maybe not the same as your meaningful in a given context. I might be there to close a business deal. You might be there to make a friend, for example. Um, and so that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I like what you said about having an objective for going to network. And I think also with that objective, it's also being open to other possibilities that might show up while you're networking or while you're getting to know people. And I'll tell a super quick story, which is when I was at the beginning of my speaking career, I was invited to speak somewhere and I was really excited. I'm trying to become a motivational speaker. I got an invitation to speak. This is really great. And so looking forward to it, prepared for it. The day before the event, I got a message from the organizer saying, actually, I'm so sorry. I double booked. I'm going to go with the other speaker. Obviously, very upset, very heartbroken. But the event organizer said, if you still want to attend the event, it's going to be a really good event. If you still want to attend, you're more than welcome. Your ticket is still valid for the event. Obviously, I was really upset because I had this objective to go there and to speak and to grow my platform as a speaker. So eventually, after debating, I decided to just go. And bearing in mind, this was a women's networking event. So there were many reasons for me not to go if I wasn't speaking, right? And so, long story short, I go to this event and this is where I meet my wife, basically. So I go to this event, I'm kind of dreading it and, thinking, oh, why am I here? I should have just stayed home. It's a women's networking event. But eventually I pushed myself to go, make some great, great connections that evening. One of them turns out to be someone I have coffee with. And now we've been married 5 years and we have one kid. So yeah, being open to that possibility of it might not look exactly how you pictured it, but good things can still come from it.
How do I argue with this story, man? Incredible, man. By the way, this is a really good point. Having an objective, having an intention doesn't mean you have to be located. That's one. And two, you might have multiple objectives. And by the way, the objective, your intention might be very vague. I'm
Yeah.
here with a curiosity to meet many new great people.
Yes.
But you better be clear what your objective or your intention is, because you're more likely to make the networking experience more effective,
Yes,
if it
I
makes
agree.
sense. And I'm gonna go to the second question because we're very fast in answering questions. All right, let's see what's we have Nicoletta Peru. Nico is asking how to start a conversation in a room with nobody you know, but also create and maintain the connection.
Mm, this is a good one for me actually because I think being, like I said, I'm naturally more introverted. So it's not easy for me to make the first move and approach people in a networking situation. And I was given a really good hack. I think it's a good hack. It's worked for me. And if you're going to a networking event and you know maybe your personality is not so outgoing, maybe you're introverted, maybe you're a bit shy, then try and be one of the first people to arrive to the event. Because if you're one of the first people to arrive, one of the first people in the room, then immediately the next person to walk in, let's say, is Stoyan. Stoyan walks in. Stoyan, you only have me to talk to. You have to approach me. Because I'm already in the room, so there's kind of a unspoken expectation that you're just gonna go and speak to the person who's already at the event, or to the two or three people who are already at the event because they arrived before you, rather than again flipping it around. You arrive later, the event is, buzzing, everyone is talking to each other, the groups have already formed, and now you're an introvert or someone who's shy who's trying to break into one of the circles to have a conversation. It's possible, but it's just a lot harder if that's not your personality type. So I would say that's something that's really helped me, is just being intentional and arriving early. I mean, it's not hard. We can all do this. If the meeting is at 7 o'clock, just be one of the first people to walk into the room, and naturally it'll be easier for people to engage with you rather than when the meeting has matured and now you're having to find ways to get your voice heard.
And let me add the voice of the extrovert as well. By
Yeah,
the way, you don't have to be extrovert. You don't have to be extrovert to challenge yourself a little bit.
yeah.
First of all, it's never comfortable to go approach strangers. Okay, not never, but it's against our nature. We don't want to be rejected. Nobody wants to be rejected, and we have all these limiting beliefs that if I go and talk to people, and then it comes, what do they think? I have nothing to offer. This and that and that. Like, there's so many excuses and limiting beliefs that we have. I'm one of these people that talks to everybody at every event, and there's a few tips I can give you. One of my favorite ones is something I learned from Jack Canfield, the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. I think they sold more than 500 million copies of their books.
Hmm.
They know what they're doing. Actually, he's an introvert, so he knows how important networking is. So he's been going to all these events with
Yeah.
relevant people, and he said he acquired this mindset that, what if I see myself as the host of the event, even
Mm.
if I'm not?
Are you sure
And
he's
I mean,
introvert?
yeah, but think about it, man. If you think I'm the host of the event, even if you're introvert,
Mm,
how are you going to approach everybody? Hey, everybody, how are you guys doing? You guys having a good time? Did you get some drinks?
yeah.
You want to take care of everybody, and that's the thing. Most people are afraid to make the first step, to make the
Yes.
opener. Once you're in the conversation, it's good. And I'm not saying every conversation is going to go well. Yesterday I went to an event. I was a speaker, but my speech was at 5 p.m. So most people didn't know I'm the speaker. There's this thing. If you already spoke on stage, everybody recognizes you. They come to you, which is a great hack, by the way, for the introverts.
Yes.
Speak on stages, build your personal brand, then people come to you. But my speech was, at 5 p.m. So I just wanted to test the room because my speech was about networking. So I wanted to see how good is the networking at this event so I can reflect on the stage. And I went, and there were a couple of those tables of people, which I approached with a friendly smile and said something, and they looked at me very weirdly. And they were like, and I'm like, hey, are you guys having a private conversation? Yeah, we kind of do. So they kind of, they
Wow.
kind of push me out, right? So that happens. That happens at any event. And
Yes.
that's okay. You just move on. There's nothing personal. It's not like oh, we don't have space for you, but anybody else is welcome, you know? No, it's just they have this deep conversation, private conversation. Sometimes I don't want to, if I met you and we haven't met for quite some time, I don't necessarily want 5 other people to come and network with us. I want to reconnect. You know, there's some moments that you have to read the room and the timing.
Yeah.
But that being said, that's not an excuse not to go and approach people. And that's not an excuse not to approach people if they're in a group. Because more often than not, people who are in a group at an event became a group 5 minutes ago. They didn't know each other.
Yeah.
So you can literally open with anything.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you guys enjoying the event? What was your favorite speaker?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, did you guys see the last speech? It was amazing. Did you get some coffee? Have you tried the drinks? How was the food? I mean,
Yeah.
you can say anything. You can mention something. Man, love your shirt. Honestly, what a beautiful shirt, man. You know, that's class, man. Like you can compliment people. Compliments is easy.
Yeah.
Find something you like about them, or something that maybe they have pink shoes. Say something, wow, pink shoes. That's solid, man.
Bold.
Open the conversation. Get in. Then you can ask them, how do you guys know each other? You guys work together? Oh,
Yeah.
cool, man. Where you come from? So what are you curious about? Well, what brought you here? Be curious. Ask a lot of questions. You don't have to be interesting. There's this I don't know who's the person who said it, but be more interested and less interesting. More interested and less
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, it's the truth. The more questions you ask and you listen and you're curious and then you ask a follow-up question. Oh, okay, so you work in finance. What do you love about your job? Wow, that's amazing, man. I can see the passion. You start building the connection. It's not about you. Joe Polish is a great guy. The guy who built the Genius Network has a
yes.
bunch of books.
Mm-hmm.
One of his books is called What's in It for Them.
Mm.
You know, in the negotiation, there's always this thing, what's in it for me?
Right.
He's asking the question, what's in it for them?
Mm.
Because at this first interaction, you wanna be a little bit more of a giver.
Yeah.
Because the more you're curious, the more you create this positive vibe, the more they will start naturally asking you, Winston, what about you? What do you do? Oh, cool, man. I know this one person. I can connect you. By the way, that's another great thing. Try to connect good people.
Yeah.
If you see somebody and you see that they're decent and they, they have to be, you have to qualify them a little bit. But, oh, you know what? I know this Winston guy. He's a motivational speaker. He might be a really good match for your event. You said you're looking for a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
You should definitely check out Winston. Let me send you his details. Amazing. Let's go. So just a couple of tips. I would say just don't block yourself. Once you go to an event by yourself and you really challenge yourself, you get out of your head and you kind of maybe follow these tips. Maybe you prepare the first time. I know that some people want to prepare 3 or 4 ways to open a group, or they have a few stories to tell, like the introduction, the elevator pitch. You can have your own introduction. Like if I ask you, what do? You can say, well, I'm a speaker, but you can have a different, more interesting way to say what you do.
Right.
You can say, I'm selling dreams. or like you can say something more interesting, and then people are like, oh, this guy's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing, but at least he's a funny guy, right? Oh.
Yeah. No.
So
Yeah, I agree, and I think for a lot of people, both introverts and extroverts, the challenge is the icebreaker. So how to start the conversation. I think once you're in a flow of conversation, most people are comfortable with, being curious, asking questions, and leading with value. I think the limiting belief, at least from my perspective, and maybe people can let us know in the comments, it's just that icebreaker piece of how do I approach it. And I've seen people do it different ways, including myself. Initially I prefer to go to networking events with someone else, so that we could tag team in a way. And then, once we're both comfortable, we can kind of go our separate ways and, move around the room, for example. Um, or, the one that I spoke about earlier, arriving a little bit earlier so that the room doesn't feel so overwhelming for you. Um, so yeah, I'd love to hear in the comments if people are watching this, what is the part that they find most challenging? Is it the icebreaker or is it how to build from there? But yeah, we can move on to the next one.
Let's do the next question, which is kind of connected. A question by Goran Yordanov. So his question is how to pick the right person to start a conversation with at an event when you do not know anyone and have limited time to network. In other words, how to pick the right conversations with the right people at an event attended by 60, 80, 100 people or more based on your interests and objectives.
Mm, this is it. I don't know if there's like a science to this because if you're in a room with 60, 80, 100 people, it's very hard to know who's going to be the most meaningful connection for you. So I think, well, what I would do is I think I kind of approach it maybe from a slightly, I guess, empathetic perspective. So I look for people who look disconnected in a way. So I will look for the person who looks like, they're in the corner of the room, maybe they're on the phone or, maybe they're drinking water and you can see that maybe this is not a comfortable situation for them and use that as a way to, hey, like how you finding the event? What have been some of your takeaways from the speaker who just spoke? And use that as a way to not only get to know someone because everyone has something to offer, whether they're great at networking or not. Um, but I also find that it also gives the way it's worked for me is we've then ended up saying, hey, shall we go and join that table and speak to those guys over there? Because now we've given each other a conversation, some confidence, and now we're saying, okay, let's go team up and do this together in a way. And then you might still go your separate ways after, but I found that as a good way to start if you're not sure where to start, especially in a busy event. And then the other way is obviously you could do the thing which I find a little bit funny, but it's where, yeah, you could kind of hover around a couple of tables and just be a listener to begin with. And you might pick up that, hey, let's say they're talking about productivity. That's your area, Stoyan. And that could be your opportunity to chime in that, hey, actually, I have come across this problem or scenario before, and this is a case study for how we approached it for a client. But you spend the initial time just listening, being curious, learning, and then you realize that actually I do have something to offer this table. And then you taking a big brave step to speak up and say, this is how I can help. And it might look different. Sometimes you might be listening and realize actually they're talking about astrophysics. That's not my area. So I'm just gonna move on to the next table and listen again and see if there's a way for me to provide some value, to be a giver to that conversation. But I don't know what you think.
That's a great approach, man. I've been listening, and one thing I can say from entering a venue, I want you guys, the listeners of this podcast, to think about: can you enter with confidence?
Right.
Can you enter the room like imagine you're the star of the show? Can you enter with this kind of vibe, with a smile, but with this kind of confidence? Like because body language will dictate your energy. So that's one. I know it's not exactly directed to the question, but when I enter a venue, I'm entering like I'm the host. I'm the star of the show. I just enter with this slow, confident. I own the venue. I might be by myself. Nobody knows me. There's a lot more relevant people. No, I enter with this kind of vibe because that gives me, it puts me in a good mental state. And then I observe. I'm just reflecting right now, but I observe the venue. I'm just like, okay, before I start any conversations, I just walk around. because I want to see where's the bar, where's the coffee, where do people gather,
Yeah.
where's the introvert on their phone. And so initially I'm gonna go around a couple of times around the room and just observe and just try to see things. So I don't engage immediately unless I see somebody that I know, so I have to say hello.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's another tip. You don't know where to start? Well, there's a couple of things. One, if you know anybody at the event and you kind of meet them, you can get some information. Hey, how's it going, man? How are the people here? Any cool people in finance? Have you met any? Like, you can get some information from the people you know, or you can go and say hello to the host, and you can say, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And then you can ask some questions, and you can be valuable. You can say, "Do you need any help? I know how difficult it is to organize an event." You can just, but then you can also ask a little bit about the attendees, if there's any specific attendees. Yeah, I was wondering, do you know if there's any investors that are joining? Because I'm looking to see. I have these startups. I want to connect them with some investors. Do you know any investors that are joining? You might gather some information from the get go. If you know who you're looking to meet,
Yeah.
if there are any interesting people I should meet, that's another question. So, who do you want to meet? Well, I want to expand my network with HR professionals in the region. So if there is any of them, I'd love to have a chat. Do you know anybody who's coming? Talk to the host. Talk to the person that's there. Talk to your friends there. And they might already introduce you, which is much better. If somebody introduces you, recommend you and say, hey, you got to talk to Winston because he's a kick-ass speaker, man. And then they leave. That's a good starting point,
Mm, mm,
if that's what your objective is, of
yeah.
course. But then from there, I would say be strategic. A lot of people, they stay way too long in a conversation when the conversation is not going anywhere
Right.
because it's more comfortable to stay than to leave. Now I'm thinking a lot of people stay in relationships too long, but we're not gonna go there now. But
Relationships, jobs, everything.
no, but like even on networking, you're at the table, you start and you're like, oh man, I need to stay here for half an hour more because they start talking, for example, and you're a very nice, empathetic, and kind person. No, man, don't be. It's okay to say, guys, thank you so much for this. I really need to go and talk to somebody, but it was really great to meet you. Let's connect later.
Right.
I mean, this is your time. If you don't see the connection, if you really have to talk to somebody else, just be polite. Don't weird. Sometimes you might have to just interrupt anybody. Some people start talking for 7 minutes when you ask them, "What do you do?" They didn't even ask you for the name. And if they ask for so long,
Yeah.
I can say, you know what, I really need to go someplace. It's fine. I can listen to 2-3 minutes, but then it's like, look, there's a whole room. I have an objective. My objective is to meet people that I can connect with. Again, it's about creating value, but I want to create value for the right kind of people.
Mm,
If there's takers, somebody wants to sell you stuff, somebody is talking all about themselves, maybe you want to move on.
yeah.
So hopefully we answered this question, Goran.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. That's a little bit different. Winston, you ready? Elena Mena is asking, she says, I would love to know more about the mindset when it comes to networking and energy management, when it comes to social interactions.
So mindset and energy management. I think mindset is partly what we spoke about just now. So going into a room, right energy, good body language, like you said, find a good starting point, whether for you that's locating a friend or someone who you think would be a good person to start with, or locating the host and asking them a bit more about the event. What kinds of people are there? Who do you think is a great person for me to connect with? I think that's a really useful question to ask. Um, and one other thing that came to mind is, you know, we're all comfortable talking to our friends, for example. So you have a friend or a best friend or, a spouse, whoever, and no one is shy talking to their best friend or their spouse. So one thing that, might be helpful for someone or maybe one person listening to this is, yeah, just almost frame the conversation like I'm about to have coffee with my friend and kind of get your mindset in that space of it's just a conversation with my friend, it's just a conversation with Stoyan, rather than, which I think is a defense mechanism for the mind. We build these networking conversations up into something really formal and something really serious, like going into it, thinking my whole business depends on this one conversation with Stuyan, right? And so that just creates a pressure that's not even realistic. Instead of thinking, actually, I'm going to go speak with a friend and find out how their evening is going, right? And see where that leads. So I think that helps as well. Um, but yeah, to the point about energy management, I think this is probably more important for introverts than extroverts who have unlimited energy. Do you have unlimited energy, Stuart?
No, I don't. But I probably have a much bigger social battery than yours.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
you
guessing.
probably, yeah. It's yeah, you have a bigger tank. You're like a truck, and I'm like a bicycle, maybe.
Even a
Uh,
truck can run out of energy, though.
but I think it's important to be aware of when you're starting to feel energetically depleted and when you need to recharge. And sometimes that can look like you don't have to stay for the whole event. If it's a 2 or 3 hour networking event, knowing yourself and knowing that your energy is normally good for about an hour and then you start to drop off, then just stay for an hour, but make it a really impactful hour. Or you might be the type of person who I know I need regular breaks, right? So after speaking or networking for 20 minutes, I need to go 5 minutes outside and just catch some fresh air. Then, just really go with an intentional plan to recharge yourself. Um, it might be that, for me, for example, and I think we're probably going to talk about, following up later. But sometimes I can feel that pressure of, yeah, like we need to follow up, we need to make that coffee happen immediately after the networking event. But again, knowing your energy and if you need more time, then it's okay to schedule the follow up in 2 or 3 weeks. And one, I guess, hack that's helped me because follow ups, they're a bit dangerous. If you don't do them quickly, the conversation can kind of die, I find. Um, but also you need to know your energy. So maybe after a networking event, you don't want to spend the next, 2 or 3 days also having coffees, also sending emails. So one thing that's really helped me is either set a reminder, in 2 or 3 days in my diary, I'm going to spend 2 hours just following up, sending emails or, texting or reaching out to people that I'm connected with. And sometimes because we have technology now, it may be that I'm okay sending emails, so I can schedule those emails to go out in 7 days' time, for example. And then that gives me some breathing space so that when that person responds, and they're probably an extrovert like you, Stoy, and saying, shall we meet tomorrow? I've already given myself, a 7 day breathing space where I can say, actually, yeah, let's meet tomorrow because I've had my opportunity to recharge. But that's just my initial thoughts on that.
Hmm. Well, that's a good point, man.
Mm,
I'm hearing myself.
I hear you.
Let me just see why is that. That's the echo. I can hear myself a little bit. Oh no, not any longer. Good. Maybe it's in my mind. Maybe it's not from the technology. So I think mindset, we spoke about it already. There's many things we can still cover on mindset, but I'll focus on energy management because some people who follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram, they think I have this tank that never ends, and you can
You
put me
do.
in a room and I can
You
network
know.
for 2 weeks, like without sleeping or whatever. But the truth is, I'm very cautious about my energy. I might have a social battery that's bigger than most people, but people don't know I'm very careful when I travel, for example. So I would decrease the amount of sugary things that I eat. Like I'll be super conscious about what I eat. I'll be super conscious
Mm,
about when I go to
right.
bed. I know that many networking opportunities happen in the evenings
Yes.
over a glass of wine or two, but I consciously cut out majority of those opportunities. I'll give you an example. I've been a speaker at this event, Web Summit in Lisbon, for the past 3 years, and it's just it's massive, man. It's the biggest FOMO ever. It's like 80,000 people in the city, you know, joining the event, all kind of side events. It's parties, night summits. It's insane. But as a speaker, one of the perks of a speaker is that you get access to the speaker lounge with many
Yes.
super interesting people. So mm, my strategy at Web Summit usually is I will prepare very well to speak at the event because that's my major objective to deliver and to be of value to the organizers. But then from there on, in terms of networking, there is a big concentration of high quality people at this speaker lounge. So I spend 80 to 90% of my time in this speaker lounge. And my strategy is I'm an early riser. So I'll go there when they open. 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm there. Like
Yeah.
I'm one of the first people that will be there. And I start observing, I start talking to people. Around 10
Yeah.
o'clock, there's a bunch of people there. And I'm going with the flow. Usually I don't get tired so much. So for example, I will try not to drink a lot of coffee. Doesn't always happen, especially at the event. So easy to drink 5, 6, 7 cups of coffee. But coffee is tiring you up afterwards. So you don't wanna you don't want to overconsume coffee. You don't want to overconsume sugars. There's so many of them. So food is a big one. Be very careful what you eat. Drink a lot of water. Take conscious breaks. Even for me, like I network for 40 minutes, 1 hour. Okay, let me just take 5 minutes. Let me just relax a little bit. Go to a corner, get outside. Just. But then I come back, and usually, example of this event. So I go there 8:30 in the morning. I finish around 7. And I'm dead, man. Like because you gotta see me. I'm not like I do small breaks, but to be honest, it's you know sometimes I forget, right? But then around 7, I'm kind of smashed. I take the
Yeah.
shadow. I go to my hotel. I just chill. 2 hours before bed. If you think about it, I might go and talk to people because there's 2 hours, right? Why not go to a dinner? No, man. I need these 2 hours before bed to just. There's so much energy, so many people.
Yeah.
And then around 10 o'clock, I go to bed, wake up 6 in the morning, go for a run or something. I need to move. And then 8:30 the next day, I'm there. So you have to have a plan a little bit about how do you manage your energy. Exercise, food, sleep is the biggest one for me. Sleep is number
Mm,
one. It doesn't always happen. Your flight is delayed. You arrive at 2 in the morning. Next day is the event. Um, or even if you're in your own city, there's many things that can disturb your sleep or your schedule. But to the best of your extent, try to be conscious about how you want to approach it, so you can be present. And that's the thing. When you go to the event, when you're with this other person, you want to be fully there. You want to be in your best energy, so
yeah.
you can make a good impression. So,
Yeah.
food, alcohol, I never drink. I never drink. It's it only gets energy out of me.
Mm.
You know, just a glass of wine. No, it doesn't work for me. Water, please. you know.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think maybe one of the takeaways there is we all have things that we know energize us and things that drain us. And I think for me, I've got into a place where I have somewhat of a morning routine of things that I know will give me the right energy to approach the day. But sometimes that morning routine, it can fall off when you're traveling or when you're in a different environment. And so I've tried to create a lighter, simpler version of my morning routine that I can do anytime, anywhere. So, if it's to do with moving my body or, reading something or, maybe not accessing email first for the first hour of the day. Just finding ways to keep that consistent throughout, and then it doesn't matter what you're doing that day, whether you're networking or something else, you're starting from a good foundation. Because I think, especially when you're traveling, to your point, it can kind of feel like, well, I'm traveling, so it's different rules. I just go with the flow. But you're actually not giving yourself the best opportunity to be in your most positive energy.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Let's move on.
Hmm.
You go with the questions, man. Pick one.
Okay, let's pick one. Okay, so here's a good one. What is the biggest mistake professionals make when trying to network upward with executives, founders, or industry leaders?
Because it's the question says the biggest. The first thing that comes to mind is they put them on a pedestal
Yeah.
and they act weird. That's one of those things. No, I mean even for us because we're speakers and being on stage speaking creates a lot of social value and people follow you on LinkedIn, follow your podcast, and they sometimes come to you and you feel like you're a guru or something. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm seeing you there, and it's even for me, it's like it's it's awkward a little bit. I understand it, I appreciate it, but I think the best connections happen when you act human with everybody. It doesn't matter if it's Winston or if it's President Obama or if it's the homeless person in front of the building. These are all humans. We all have our strengths, we have our weaknesses, and I believe if you treat people with respect, with dignity, but also don't put them on a pedestal, but you you just act like a human. You be human, and that means you can be funny. Especially people of higher status. If you crack a joke, it's it's amazing, man. It's like they appreciate it because most people go to them and they're like, "Oh my god, this is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
I can't be," or I don't know, the president of Microsoft, or like doesn't matter. Like you have to be just cool. Don't try to prove yourself. I see a lot of times startups when they're pitching to investors, they they pitch from a place of weakness because they in their mind they're like, I need some money. I have to pitch them. I have to win the money. Like the investor is the prize. No,
Yeah.
it should be an equal game. Investors are looking for the best startups, so you don't have to look at them from down, from up, like upwards. No, you have to look at them equal. Like if you have something to offer and you really believe in it, then approach them that way with respect, with good energy. Try to be a giver. Um, by the way, acting from a place of strength is often the people who try to sell the least are usually selling the most. They have something cool, but they're not rushing into sales. They're not needy. If I ask you what do you do and you immediately spend 5 minutes to try to sell me something, talk about all your products and things and it's amazing. And do you know anybody? It's like even if I do, I'm not gonna tell you about this person because like you're needy, man.
Yeah.
As opposed to if they ask you what do you do and you just calmly smile and just explain, but without anything. Do you know anybody? Like, dude, you just met them? Like, just be human.
Hmm.
But yeah, cracking jokes, man. That's a big one. I always like to, when I see somebody, it doesn't matter who it is, to come up with a joke, and if that's your style, I think it has to be style, but
Yeah.
it has to be real.
Yeah. It has to be a style, and I think you make a good point. Because sometimes when we see these experts and leaders, we put them on that pedestal, and we think that it's the CEO of Microsoft, so I want to show that I know everything about Microsoft. But if you're the CEO of Microsoft, then you probably talk about Microsoft all day long. So it's probably more refreshing when someone comes along and says or has a conversation with you that is beyond the job or beyond just them trying to get an opportunity at your company. And some of the best conversations I've had with leaders is through asking lots of questions and then realizing some of the overlap that we have in our lives. So they might have kids or, they might have traveled to a country where I have traveled to, and then kind of drilling further into those questions. And you can see their face light up because, that was a memorable experience for them. And here's someone who's actually asking me about something that I really enjoy talking about. Um, so yeah, it's just widening the conversation to see the whole person, not just the thing that you potentially want to get out of it.
And because the question was, what's the biggest mistake? I
Mm,
think another mistake, I don't know if it's the biggest or second biggest, is these people have no time. They have very little time. So when you talk to executives of highest level celebrities, yeah, do the things that we say, be funny, be human, but also try to get to the point. If you have anything to offer, to share, just go to the topic. They don't have time, so so even sometimes you speak 1 minute and you have to feel the energy and just say, it was great. Is there a way I can follow up? Like, you get their contact and you just move on. Like, talking about the president of Microsoft, that happened to me last year at the conference. I saw him. He was preparing his speech there was a special area where, the speakers can prepare their speeches. So he was there, and nobody wants to talk to him because he's the president of Microsoft. Why should the president of Microsoft speak to me? Um, but I was like, I want to say hello. He looks like a very nice guy. Brad Smith is his name.
yeah.
And I actually met somebody at the conference who was organizing another conference in Europe. Oh my God, that's the president of Microsoft. I'm like, talk to him. Oh no, what should I tell him? Well, you want to invite him to the conference, no? Yes. But why should he come? Well, he came to one conference. Why not come to yours? And I just told her, you know what, come with me. And I just went. I'm like, hey, Mr. Smith, I just wanted to introduce myself. Hi, great to have you here in Europe. We were wondering, is Europe a focus for you guys right now? Like, we have a lot of connections here. Maybe we can connect with somebody. By the way, this young lady here, she's organizing a really cool conference in Copenhagen, and she wanted to invite you or somebody from your team to maybe come and be
Mm.
speakers. I just introduced him. We had a little chat. Um, Took a picture. He gave me his business card with his real email. So, and we exchanged. I told him some connections that I had and how I can be of help. He's like, "Oh, that's really cool. We're just looking into that and that and that in Europe these days. So it might be helpful to have some good connections here. Thank you for coming and introducing yourself." We stayed for a minute because he was preparing his speech. He didn't ask us to leave. We were there and said, "Hey, thank you for your time. You know, rock the stage. We'll come
Enough,
to
yeah.
watch the speech, and let's be in touch." And then we left,
Hmm.
and we had a coolest kind of moment. Took some pictures. By the way, not always is a good time to ask a celebrity for a picture, or like celebrity or somebody that's a high status person. It's like, sometimes it's just, it's the fanboy thing. Sometimes it works fine, but sometimes it could be a little bit too much. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like you have to read the room with that one, especially, if people are having like a private moment, like they're, I don't know, at a restaurant or they're with their family or, you know, they just look like they're busy, maybe they're on the phone, then definitely be respectful of that boundary. And that's happened to me and my wife too, because we do some stuff on YouTube and we often get stopped, when we're out and about shopping, doing different things, people asking pictures, and we don't mind.
But by the way, Winston, you don't do some stuff. Tell them how many followers and how many views you're getting per video. Come on.
Yeah, we our YouTube has grown. Our YouTube has grown, so we just passed 300,000, and we're probably approaching 100 million views on total views on YouTube.
We
So
do something on YouTube. No, man, Dick, you actually have quite some following, and every video is getting quite a bit of views. So that's
yeah,
just to
nah,
put the context. Just to put the context.
no, it's a blessing. And so initially it was really weird for us to be stopped because we just see ourselves as regular people doing regular things. But yeah, to your point, there's also a time and place for how to approach those situations.
No, for sure. Let's take one more question because I don't think there's so much more time. But anybody who's watching us live, you have a question, post it as well. We'll continue. All right. That's a one I want to take. Um, and the person who wrote the question said maybe another question, but a topic. How a seemingly weak tie in your network can turn into a significant opportunity. Let's talk about weak ties. Maybe the underappreciated connections.
Yeah, how do you define a weak tie? Is that someone who maybe you don't see as a typical connection for you? Or how do
in
you
my
define
in
it?
my mind in my
Mhm.
mind a weak tie could be I met this person at an event. We spoke for 15 minutes. We don't really know each other. We're not friends. We haven't worked together. Or maybe it's a friend of a friend I met once at a
Yeah.
dinner. So we don't really know each other so well, but we kind of met.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think what comes to mind with me for this one is, and I think everyone watching here probably has a social media presence. You post on LinkedIn regularly, you post on other social platforms. And for me, I think good examples of this weak tie turning into something more significant is, and we all know this about our own content, there's always that one or two people who sometimes they don't even comment, but they will like every post. Like you get familiar with the names that, oh, if I do a post and it gets one like, it's gonna be this person. We have never spoken. We have never had a conversation. We were probably not even in the same country, but they will, without fail, click, support you. Sometimes they'll leave a short comment, right? And I've had it like that a couple of times now where 2 or 3 years down the line after like, like, I've just got a message in my DM that's very, very direct. That says something like, hey, we're doing this conference in December. Are you available? Like really direct, like because they've now been following you and appreciating your value for such a long time in the background without you maybe realizing it, what kind of impact it was having on them, that it will be them that come to pitch the project to you in a way, in a very direct way. And that's happened before. The best example I have is it's happened recently with a particular speaker bureau. I was aware of this speaker bureau, which is, just for people not in the industry, a bureau is where a speaker can get represented by an agency, and that agency will, if they're a good agency, will bring them opportunities to do lots and lots of talks, right? So this was an agency, a speaker bureau that I was aware of, and I thought that, yeah, maybe someday I will reach out to them, but they seemed like they were very busy, and I didn't really have a direct, a strong connection, a strong tie to them, except this one person who liked my posts on a regular basis. And so this started in 2023. I noticed that they liked some of my posts, and then they started liking my posts more frequently this year. And then in May this year, I just got a direct message in my inbox saying, hey, we think you'd be really good fit for our speaker bureau. Would you like to explore a partnership? So for me, that's an example of weak type, growing into something more significant. But also, I think more importantly is you don't know who you're impacting through just sharing your knowledge, your skills, your expertise, your value. Sometimes those people don't even like the post; they're just consuming them silently, and then all of a sudden, 6 months down the line, They want to reach out. They want to talk to you. They want to build a friendship. They want to, partner with you in some way. So that's what came to mind for me. I don't know for you if anything came to mind.
Maybe I can elaborate a little bit because not everybody is a content creator, but I would recommend everybody to consider being more conscious about their personal brand. Obviously, me and Winston, we're a lot more out there, but everybody can be doing that intentionally. Even if you are working for a company, you're not having your own thing, but you work for a company, you can still be present. You can still be creating content. You can still be speaking as a guest on podcasts, sharing your expertise, your know-how.
Yes.
And this is the beautiful thing. You go to an event, you meet 20, 30 new people. If you're speaking, you meet a lot more per night. And then they join you on LinkedIn. They start following you on LinkedIn, for example, or whatever platform you use, maybe Instagram, depending on what kind of area you're in. And then when you're creating content, they follow you. You create this personality. You position yourself. So you build this kind of reputation because they follow you. Follow each other. So if you're more proactive, you're more likely to be in front of them. So the kind of weak ties you talk about, I think it's a sub weak tie, if we can say that. Because for me, weak ties are even broader, in a broader sense. Weak ties, they might not be necessarily like followers of your content or people that you're connected to on LinkedIn. Again, it could be people that you met. Maybe they're not on social media, but I think it was a book. I think it was a book or something that was exploring how weak ties could be your biggest opportunity, unexplored opportunity. Like those people that you probably met, you had a little bit of conversation. I mean, the best possible case, maybe Winston, you did a freaking amazing speech. They met you and you had a 5-minute conversation after your speech. Now you have a lot more social value, and that would be a good case. But maybe you just met them at an event. Maybe they were at a dinner, a friend organized a dinner, and you were both together there. I would say nurture these connections. Have a strategy. We didn't really talk much about nurturing the connections. We talked mostly about making the interaction, the networking events, but you're not just building the network, you have to sustain the network. And that means your inner circle. Winston, I think you're becoming more and more part of my inner circle, brother. We have a mastermind together. We are supporting each other. There's kind of the outer circle, maybe like a little bit more connections. That is still your friends. There's still people that you connect with often, but maybe less often. Then you have this kind of weak ties. And I would say, I don't know, try to have more conversations with these people. I'm a networking person, but I think it's fine to have a cup of coffee with people that they're not necessarily your clients or they're not in your industry, but just for the fact of, let me just go and just, I don't know, have a cup of coffee, have a lunch, have a chat, see if you can help these people. You never know. You never know. These people could be your biggest supporters on your professional journey. Because it's like somebody gave this metaphor that it's kind of like a bank account, but it's not like a bank account. Like the more you invest in your connections, the bigger your opportunities will grow out of there. It's not transactional. Don't get it wrong. Right? It's not transactional, but like the more you invest in people, you help people, you're a valuable person, things happen, guys. You have no idea if Winston and I do an episode and we talk about where our speaking opportunities are coming from. I mean, you'll be somebody who's an accountant in some company, but they saw you speak at an event and then they told their boss I'm telling you, it's just be a good person, be a person of value, help people, connect people, introduce them, spread good energy, be of help as much as you can. In the long run, always think about the long run. And I think I'm starting with this kind of a summary of the whole thing. But Winston, maybe you wanna wrap up with kind of final words to the listeners out there, especially the introverted listeners, because you're representing that side of the room.
I'm representing the many billions of introverted networkers out there. Um, but yeah, I would honestly say maybe going back to what we said at the beginning, sometimes the word networking, it has a connotation that doesn't sit comfortably with people. And so if that's something that causes you to hesitate, then just reframe it because networking is all about building relationships. It's all about making meaningful connections, and it doesn't always have to end in a place of transaction. It can end in a place of, friendship, relationship. And I think ours is a really good example, Stoya, where it just started around that time of COVID, just connecting, knowing that we're both speakers, knowing that it was COVID and we wanted to create some kind of positive impact. And so we just hopped on a podcast. We didn't know how many people were going to watch that podcast, but it led to us also getting to know each other on a more personal level and also doing some other business things on top of the podcast. So yeah, I think it's just going in with that open mind, reframing networking and and just knowing that you can do it. If you have any relationship in your life, then you're able to network. So it's not something that's just for experts or extroverts or anything like that. So that's what I would encourage and stay curious and focus on other people more than you focus on yourself.
Yeah, maybe to wrap up myself as well. Um, yeah, Winston said some really good things that don't apply only to introverts. I'm gonna repeat myself a little bit, but working on your personal brand could be a great way to attract people come to you, especially if you're more introverted and if you don't want to be the one that's approaching people. You don't have to, really. You don't have to. You can find your own way. Building meaningful connections professionally, I think everybody should be more conscious about it, but you
Yes.
have to find your own way. And I would say to find your own way, you have to experiment a lot. To me, speaking at events, because I love to speak, it's also my career, but speaking at events opens a lot of doors. And when I speak at an event, I'm always trying to speak in the morning of an event because then you have a lot of opportunity to talk to all the people that come to you, talk about the topic that um, you know you're expert at, you
Mm,
shared knowledge on. So that's speaking, being public, posting on LinkedIn, sharing articles, doing different things. That's a good way to attract connections to come to you. When it comes to events, that's my challenge to everybody listening right now. Just pick one event next week, a business event, networking event, and go by yourself. If you haven't done it before,
yep.
just go by yourself. Even if you've done it before, still go by yourself and try and implement some of the ideas or maybe some other ideas. But just tell yourself, you know what, today I'm going to talk to 10 new people. Your job is not just drop down the pressure, guys. It's not I need to find 5 customers for my haircut business. No, no, like just slow down. Hey, let me talk to 5 or 10 new people and try to be valuable. That's it. And just see where it goes, where it leads you. It's just break through your limitations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not scary. Maybe one will say, it will be awkward. 2, I don't know. But then there'll be 5 conversations that will turn into something, maybe a connection. Maybe somebody will actually introduce you to something that's meaningful to you professionally.
Yeah.
But just challenge yourself a little bit, be more conscious, and show up with an intention to be a giver, to be more of a giver. Give and take, but more of a giver. So that's it, guys. That's it. Friday evening. For some of you listening to the podcast, probably it's
Friday
not Friday.
lunchtime.
Yeah, lunchtime for Winston in Atlanta. So he still have the day to go and to make things happen. For me, the week is over. It's been a long week. You can probably hear my voice. it's it's been a long week, guys. But I wanted to do this because first of all we promised and we rescheduled it twice with Winston, so I had to do it. But once again, thanks for being with us. Thanks Winston for being on the podcast for the third time, but
No,
not the last. But not the
yeah.
last.
No, it's a
And
pleasure. And I had a thought, and maybe this could be a separate podcast episode.
okay.
But I don't know if you've heard of the 5 love languages.
Ooh.
So
No.
I was thinking if there would be a way of talking about the five networking languages. So love languages is all to do with relationships and, you know, connecting with people for romantic purposes. And, there's acts of affirmation, there's, gifts, there's all these different ways that people use to
Physical
approach
touch.
approach romantic relationships. But I wondered as you were speaking, because everyone has their own way of networking, maybe there's a way to distill that into three, four, five go-to ways of, okay, if you're this type of person, then you need to go to events. Or if you're this type of person, then maybe start with doing virtual networking. So let us know if you want to see that episode in the future.
Hey guys, let us know. We'll create a framework and we'll present it to you on an episode. If there's enough interest, drop us a message on LinkedIn. Make sure to follow Winston. He has a couple of YouTube channels. One of them, tell us about the YouTube channels and where people can follow you, Winston, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah, best place to follow me for my speaking is the website, which is winstonclements.com. And then on YouTube, I have my speaking YouTube, which is just my name, Winston Ben Clements. And then I also have the vlog channel, which is the bigger platform, and that is called The Clements.
So go check it out, guys. Thanks once again for being with us. If anything was meaningful, valuable, we would love to hear from you. Let us know which parts did you like the most. Send us a DM, post a comment, and if you enjoy the podcast, obviously subscribe to the podcast, because the more people subscribe, the more amazing people we can bring to the podcast as guests. So we appreciate you listening to the end of the episode. Have a great weekend, have a great week, and see you once again next week.